Let's go. Let's go to Chris. Namely, when we talk about what is going on right now with the general mood, I've seen a lot of gamers frustrated about Destiny or insert live service, Wayfinder, insert live service game, and then just generally frustrated. And we're seeing that. We've also seen Sony talk about making a big push into live services. How do you feel right now as somebody who enjoys live service games? Do you feel like they're on kind of maybe like a hiatus, or is this a long time coming? Where do you fall?
I mean, everything's cyclical. Like, I'm not currently subscribed to Netflix, but not because I will never be again in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not currently subscribed to Disney Plus, but not because I never will again in my life. I'm not subscribed to Hulu. Right now, we're watching a couple of things on Peacock, and there's not a lot on there that appeals to me, so that's usually pretty short-lived when we bring it around. We have some Amazon stuff because the Wheel of Time stuff's back, which I enjoy. My brother says it's terrible, so I'm sure everybody has an opinion. It might be terrible, but I enjoy it, so I'm not even saying he's wrong. I just enjoy the show. He says the books are just so much better. That's fine. I'm having a blast. So we keep a couple things around. Currently, I'm subscribed to Final Fantasy 14, but I haven't been playing much, but not because I'm upset with the game. It's just a natural point in its patch cycle where it's easier to spend my time somewhere else. Wheel of Time Season 2 is out. It is. They're releasing it like one every week. So if you're somebody that likes to binge it, wait. Because it's not all out yet. I think it's just a natural cycle of things. I think what might be different is that during COVID, many of us pre-COVID had gotten to where we were maintaining 2, 3, 4 subscriptions for entertainment. Just one big bundle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Game Pass, maybe that's streaming services, maybe that's, live service games. During COVID, when we were all trapped inside, many of us increased that number or increased that burn rate. We either increased how much we were consuming and how often we were turning them over, or we were subscribed to 5, 6 things at once. Maybe you added on Crunchyroll for the first time. Maybe you added on, maybe you're World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy. Maybe you started getting into Guild Wars and you're spending regularly, so it feels like a subscription. And so normally you have some coming in the door and some going out the door at the same time. And I think what's different is we pushed a bunch in the door at once. And so it's just, for a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, I look down and I have $45, $65, $100 a month in subscriptions that I can't and don't want to keep up with.
Right.
And so that's where they're starting to take breaks. And that doesn't necessarily, Zeno said it when he was talking about the 14 stuff. It's not burnout, it's boredom. And that's the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, they're both ends that require you to disengage, but burnout is when you're forced to engage with something and you just don't want to do it anymore, but you keep doing it. Boredom is, I'm not upset at them, I just want to do something else.
Do you think this year has had any kind of impact, because we've seen just big RPGs release throughout this entire year? It wasn't just like 1 month. It's been like almost, you could say, like every month, every other month, a big mainline RPG has come out. And do you feel like that could be competing somewhat with the live service model?
I think the word we use a lot is invitation. So I bought my first car 14 years ago. I bought it on like a 5 or 6 year note. So I've not had a car payment for like 8 years or something silly.
So good.
And in the last, and for the last 5 years, it's been relatively maintenance free. I've had a couple little parts I've changed out myself. I had a new set of tires in there. I have some oil changes. Maybe there's a new battery. Things I can do, and things that are relatively affordable, and things that come at a predictable rate. Windshield wipers, little things. My bulbs are LEDs, so it hasn't even been bulbs. It's been great. In the last 4 months, it has gone into the shop 3 times, and it is in the shop currently today. And each time has gotten more expensive than the last, so this will likely be a 4-digit number.
Yeah.
So after 14 years, I am looking at purchasing another vehicle. And so today I'm going to rent something that I'm really excited about. It meets all of the criteria of what we want from a car. I have a short list of all the cars that actually meet all that criteria. And then I organize them by the order in which I liked them. And every time my car breaks down, I'm going to rent one of those. and I'm starting with number 1. And so if my car breaks down again, I'm going to rent number 2. And we probably have the budget to buy another car next summer. So as long as my car can hold out, it's not financially stressful as long as we can wait 6 to 7 more months, because I haven't been setting aside. The general advice is when you pay off your car, take that payment or a large percentage of that payment and put it in a savings account and keep paying it because you're used to paying it. And then when your car does this, you won't be surprised and you'll have a big pile of money, because I would have 8 years of money. So like I would just go buy a new car. Like it would be fine. I'd be like, oh, I have this giant savings account. But instead I did things like became a YouTuber, which people were like, you do that for the money. I'm like, talk about the same things. I think having a car payment paid off and having my student loans paid off is a huge component of what made YouTube possible.
Yes.
So all of this to say, now I'm looking at other cars.
Yeah.
And that's a foreign concept to my wife. And she said after 14 years, some of the things I've said about my car in the last week have been very dismissive because I'm very frustrated at it. And I'm very excited about this car that I'm picking up at 3 o'clock today. I'm super excited about it. I feel like weird about it because it's a much fancier car than what I drive now, but I'm looking at buying it used. So like it's under 30 grand new. So like, or used. So like
that's actually great. Like
it's in the price range. It just feels weird because the brand that it is a luxury brand. And so that feels very fancy as somebody that drives a Jeep. Like I don't know if I'm ready to have a luxury brand on my keychain because it feels like I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And like, but I just like the car. I just think it's really cool. I've been staring at them for 6 or 7 years and now I'm thinking about getting one. And so I'm going to read the text because you're saying kind of, this is why this all ties in.
Yeah.
And so
I was just anticipating somebody commenting on like
we're gonna get
live service Jeep.
live service. And so,
I mean, haven't car companies tried to do that in a way? Not exactly a live service, but isn't it BMW where you can like pay monthly to upgrade specific things?
Or to turn on features to your vehicle, which is disgusting.
Kind of. So the reason they're doing it is because it's cheaper to manufacture a car with seat warmers every single time. It's cheaper to have one manufacturing process.
Yeah.
But you can't afford to give seat warmers out for free. But if you add the price of seat warmers to your base price, you price out some of your market. So the theory behind it, I'm not saying I agree with it or not, but at least the theory behind it ethically, how this got brought up in a boardroom and they didn't immediately get laughed at, was we'll put it in every car and then we'll sell it as either an upgrade or a subscription type thing to have access to these varying aspects of the car. That way, the people that want to pay more can pay more, and the people who want that base price can have the base price, and we can have overall the cheaper manufacturing process. That was the theory behind that, as a complete derail.
Oh, I'm not saying
in reality it doesn't sting to walk in and be like, your car has seat warmers, they just don't turn on, idiot. Like
you gotta subscribe, which feels very Silicon Valley. Like we gotta get those monthly fees coming in, rolling in. They're not gonna miss it as a part. Bundle it with your payment, etc.
So I said
what's the text? Yeah.
Wow, we texted a lot yesterday. Oh my gosh. So basically, here's what it was. I can just sum it up. So I said, after 14 years, I'm just really hurt and I'm really excited to be in something new.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife says, I hope you don't ever say that about me. Because however I said it was very dismissive to my Jeep. Like, well, that relationship's over. And that's not really how I feel. Right. However I said it was immediately like, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, then don't go in the shop 3 months in a row, which will happen. There will be a time that one of us will go into the hospital 3 months in a row.
Yeah.
And while you're in there, tell me to rent or try out a younger model. Because that's the second step. Because she's the one that told me to rent the car I like. That's the switch. I was just going to rent some smoke-filled Hyundai Sonata and drive that around this week with like fries under the seat. And she's like, no, go onto this. There's this app called Turo. It's like VRBO, and you can rent people's cars. And what's crazy is I'm renting this luxury car from somebody, and it's half the price of renting like a beat up Ford Focus. It's so like I'm saving money while doing this. But the difference is it's inviting that. So you said, are RPGs part of the reason people might be feeling that it's time to flee from some of these subscription services? Well, these subscription services were naturally at a point where some levels of burnout had happened in games that require you to play. Final Fantasy XIV is not one of those games. And other games had moved to boredom, where people had done everything that they want to do. You watched everything on the streaming service that you want to watch. Not you've watched everything, you watch everything that you want to watch. Which, depending on the service, like I said with Peacock, there's not that many things that they have for me, as opposed to when we turn on Netflix, my wife's like, there's never anything on here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so their taste tends to align with me more. So I tend to overconsume Netflix. when you have all these RPGs open up, that's the invitation. That's the car rental while my car's in the shop.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14 is at a point right now where I've been doing other things, and other things have been a priority. So there was no big moment for me. I'm not one of these Final Fantasy 14's dying, I'm going to quit videos. There are people that make those, and they're really dramatic, and they get a lot of views, and they spark a lot of conversation, and people get really excited about watching them. And so like they make these big moments. I never had one of those. I never had an aha, this is the last straw. I just logged out one day, and then a couple weeks later, I hadn't logged back in. And Coogan put on Twitter, what have you been doing if you've quit? And I said, I never really quit, but I have been doing Japanese Duolingo. And the reason I've been doing Japanese Duolingo is because I've been watching live letters. I've watched over 50 live letters, and I still can't read a single Japanese character. And so like my Final Fantasy 14 effort is just shifted somewhere else, but like I have no reason to learn Japanese that isn't Final Fantasy 14 related. The whole reason is like, I would love to be able to have a brief, like, hello conversation with Yoshi P should I ever be given the pleasure of meeting him in person again. Like, that's the reason. That's the whole appeal of Japanese Duolingo. Like to read the slides at FanFest. That's the appeal, which you're going to have English written right below them. Like, I have no legitimate, I'm not going to go work there. I'm not going to teach Japanese. I'm not going to teach English to people that speak Japanese. I'm learning it because of Final Fantasy 14. But the invitation to go do Duolingo instead, the invitation to play Final Fantasy 16 instead, the invitation to play Starfield instead, or whatever the hell you're doing, is because like subscriptions were already at this natural low point, you know, and they hit it every 2 years. And like my wife said, that really hurts. And it's like, well, you told me that it was okay to go try other cars. The answer is like, if you didn't want that, don't tell me to go see other people. But Yoshi P and the team are okay with that. They know that there are times that you've done everything you want to do, and they don't want to burn you out, but they know that boredom is a natural low point that happens between cycles or at various times within an expansion. And so you can be excited about Dawn Trail and not actively subscribed. Like that's okay. Yeah. And that's true of all of these subscription services. So whether it be somebody who religiously consumes Destiny or World of Warcraft or Guild Wars or whatever, cyclical does not mean dislike.
Right.
And your criticisms, you could be criticizing while playing and not really have any criticisms while not playing. Those are not necessarily tied either.
When I'm not playing this game, like it's perfect in my mind, you know. It's like all the things that annoy you fade away. Go ahead, Chili. Like how do you feel about the topic?
I've been telling a lot of people, especially you're talking about Dawn Trail and Burnout, like you should, if you really only play it for the MSQ and stuff, that you should just wait until next year and play it, because that way you'll be able to just gear up straight away and you can go straight into Dawn Trail. The story's not going anywhere. You can take your time, play it whenever you've got time. Don't feel like you've got to play it day one. You've got like 6 months until Dawn Trail at least. You got a long time, and the story's not even finished. You've got to wait till January for the next part of the story. So if you really care, just wait until that's out and then play it. And just
especially with the
crafted
0.5
gear.
patch. Yeah, the 0.5 patch is one that like I can absolutely see people waiting till the half patch because they want to play the finale in one go. This is kind of a two-parter. So like when TV shows have like a two-part finale and they play them back-to-back weeks, I can see the logic in waiting to week 2. And week 2 in this case, you're absolutely right. It's in January.
Yeah, so you have January for the 6.55, which then will lead into the Japanese Fan Fest, and then ultimately will you kind of
6.55 seems to be after Japanese Fan Fest.
In January? Like when's the Japanese Fan Fest? Is it this year?
No.
January Fan Fest.
It's going to be 100. It's going to be over 100 days between 0.5 and 0.55. It is the longest gap to the 0.55 patch in Final Fantasy history. And if they wait to unlock the final tier of Savage to 0.58, which is 2 weeks after 0.55, which is the historic unlock point, it would be the longest gap for a raid tier before the loot unlocked. So like Criterion loot is pivotal to making this gap feel good. And the Criterion's not, is Criterion 0.51? God, I hope so.
Yeah, it's 0.51.
Yeah, and right. so the 0.51, that's the thing to do. So there's a lot that's interesting about this cycle that has never happened like this before. And what makes that even longer is that 0.5 is a week earlier than I thought it would be. I thought they would take the
mid-October.
I thought they would take their summer break, and they never took their summer break. So they were supposed to take an extra 1 week. So this patch arrived early, and 0.55 is late, and so like that distance is just incredibly long.
And then, so Chile is estimating about 6 months, but I would probably more or less put it closer to 8 to put it into that June time frame, which, like, that in and of itself, I think is going to lead to exactly what I think a lot of people are kind of feeling, which, based off of Yoshi P's design of the game, like, yeah, go play something else right now, because, like you said, like, you're not going to be punished for stepping into, the game back, if you want to step in May or even June of 2024, you're going to be able to, they're going to help kind of bullet train you up to the front of the line to get ready for the expansion at that time. So I think that's going to be kind of important.
And I wouldn't be shocked if somewhere between January and June, that there will be a free weekend for people to be able to log in if they haven't been subscribed for months as well. There's probably going to be like
free login campaigns,
yeah.